where you come from, that would be super. Welcome to the Washington Rebels Carpe Diem Arts Daily Antidote of Song. I'm Joe Rossi. I'm the Community Engagement Director at Washington Rebels, also on the board of Carpe Diem Arts. And I am co-hosting today with one exceptional Mr. Reggie Harris coming in from upstate New York. Delighted to have him with us. And we are being joined today also by Lilo and Issei, who are alternatingly going to sing and or participate in the discussion. We're delighted about that. A couple quick notes. The donate link is in the chat box. If you're able to help, money all goes to the song leaders. My email is in the chat box. If you have questions, comments, or just want to be on our daily email list, we send out the artists and the lyrics in advance. And a thanks going out to Nico Rossi DeMattis, who is single-handedly going to be operating the tech zone today, Facebook and the regular old Zoom. Thank you so much. All right, a few quick notes. We're going to run it a little differently today. Instead of taking hands, we're going to read comments out of the chat box. So please put your questions and comments in the chat box. Nico, myself, and Reggie will all be pulling the things out, reading them out loud, and bringing them into the discussion. And that's all I have. So now I can actually say welcome to Reggie Harris. Reggie, we're so happy you're with us again today.
Well, Joe, thank you so much. And you have the right title, the Community Engagement Director. You are so amazingly engaging. And hello to all of you on a Saturday. My goodness. During this entire COVID isolation zone, it's hard sometimes to tell one day from the next. But we're going to officially notate that this is Saturday. And we should all be taking it a little softer today, although I'm going to probably paint something later. However, right now we are going to sing. So I hope you've been breathing this morning, and I hope that wherever you are enjoying this wonderful opportunity of a day. I thought I would share a song that I've shared in this room before, but it just seemed like such a wonderful focus today of thinking about the world and thinking about those who are struggling through not only this crisis, but struggling in the world as it is, with all of the horrible things, the policies and the oppressions. And Yara Allen, who is one of the singers, the principal singer for Reverend William C. Barber. And the first time I saw her, I just loved her spirit. And I love the fact that Reverend Barber really appreciated the fact that in the civil rights movement, that song was so key, so personally possible for people to sing together and then go out and do what needs to be done. And she told a story about this song. She said she was there to lead one of the rallies that they were doing, and she sang song after song, and then she needed one more song because Reverend Barber hadn't shown up. And she said, she thought, what song will I sing? And in that moment, her entire mind went blank. She couldn't think of a single song that she knew. And she just said to herself, these people are waiting for a song. The next thing that comes out of my mouth is going to be what I sing. And the next thing out of her mouth was, somebody's been hurting my brother, and it's gone on far too long. It's gone on far too long. Yes, it's gone on far too long. Somebody's been hurting my brother, and it's gone on far too long. And the tag is, and we won't be silent anymore. Can I get a witness? Goes like this. And I'm going to make sure I don't sing this too fast because, when we sing about things that are connected to the community, sometimes we need to just kind of sit in that groove and ruminate, as they say, on what it is the words are trying to tell us. Well, somebody's been hurting my brother, and it's gone on far too long. Well, it's gone on far too long. Yes, it's gone on far too long. Well, somebody's been hurting my brother, and it's gone on far too long. And we won't be silent anymore. Let's sing that again. Well, somebody's been hurting my brother, and it's gone on far too long. Well, it's gone on far too long. Yes, it's gone on far too long. Well, somebody somebody's been hurting my brother, and it's gone on far too long, and we won't be silent anymore. My sister, well, somebody's been hurting my sister, and it's gone on far too long. Yeah, it's gone on far too long. Well, it's gone on far too long. Well, somebody's been hurting my sister, and it's gone on far too long, and we won't be silent anymore. Our children, well, somebody's been hurting our children, and it's gone on far too long. Yeah, it's gone on far too long. Well, it's gone on far too long. Well, somebody's been hurting our children, and it's gone on far too long, and we won't be silent anymore. Let's take it up. Our community. Well, somebody's been hurting our community, and it's gone on far too long. Well, it's gone on far too long. Well, it's gone on far too long. Well, somebody's been hurting our community, and it's gone on far too long, and we won't be silent anymore. Our nation. Well, somebody's been hurting our nation, and it's gone on far too long. Well, it's gone on far too long. Yeah, it's gone on far too long. Well, somebody's been hurting our nation, and it's gone on far too long, and we won't be silent anymore. Let's take it up. Our environment. Well, somebody's been hurting our environment, and it's gone on far too long. Well, it's gone on far too long. Yeah, it's gone on far too long. Well, somebody's been hurting our environment, and it's gone on far too long, and we won't be silent anymore. Our brother, well, somebody's been hurting my brother, and it's gone on far too long. Well, it's gone on far too long. Well, it's gone on far too long. Well, somebody's been hurting our, yeah, and it's gone on far too long, and we won't be silent anymore. Won't be silent. Oh, we won't be silent anymore. Singing, hey, and we won't be silent anymore. Just one more time, and we won't be silent anymore. Yes, indeed. We won't be silent anymore.
No, we won't. Reggie, thank you so much. It's amazing how every time somebody brings us another song on racial justice, how it is exactly the right words. It's really amazing how that exactly captures everything right there that we are all thinking, right? For the first time in a really long time, we're recognizing that it is on us to not be silent anymore. And on us means all of us in the whole nation, every one of us. So thank you for those delightful words, for that amazing energy. That was incredible. And before I pull up our next surprise guest artist, I would like to say, if you guys want to, please throw your comments or questions for Reggie, Lilo, Issei, any chat discussions or ideas into the box so that when we move into the discussion, we've got our cues all lined up in there. So I would like to say that somehow or another, I seem to have goofed, and we have Lilo Gonzalez with us today, who is also going to be with us on our community sing on September 21st, doing a sort of a repeat of the amazing CD release party that we had in here on the 15th. And I'm hoping we can also schedule him for early September to also do the second half of his CD. And today, in keeping with the racial justice theme of these 2 weeks, Lilo is going to bring us an amazingly great song for the notion of all of us noting our sense of community and our place. Lilo, can you please take it away with Woody Guthrie's, and you guys are on mute actually, Woody Guthrie's This Land Is Your Land. And thank you so much. You're still on mute. You're on mute and you're good. Thanks guys.
Thank you. And you know, and it's It is on my CD too. Okay. So thank you very much. Thank you very much. I'm with Anina. This land is your land. This land is my land. From California to New York Island. From the rain forest to the lobster waters. This land was made for you and me. Esta tierra es tuya, esta tierra es mía. Desde California hasta Nueva York. Desde los bosques hasta los mares. Esta tierra es tuya y mía también. As I was walking the little highway, I saw a longing in the skyway. I saw me longing that all the valley. This land was made for you and me. Esta tierra es tuya, esta tierra es mía. Desde California hasta Nueva York. Desde los bosques hasta los mares. Esta tierra es tuya y mía también. This land is your land, this land is my land. From California to New York Island. From the redwood forest to the ocean waters. This land was made for you and me. This land was made for you and me. This land was made for you and me. Muchas gracias. Thank you.
Muchas gracias also, Lilo and Anina. The bonus, I love it. The harmonies are so beautiful. We love to get to hear those. So I will say that during the CD release party, Lilo and Anina offered the most beautiful song called Promise, or You Are a Promise, in which Lilo is essentially singing to Anina about the promise that she brings into the world and sort of looking at her future. And it was so amazing. And the video was so moving. And I really cannot wait to see that again. So please do join us on September 21 to get a chance to see that video again. It was, or for the first time for anyone who wasn't here. Lilo, thank you so much for the CD release party last week and for being here during our Racial Injustice Weeks, and also just for being you. And Anina, thank you for joining your dad. So I am hoping you guys will stick around. So we are going to transition the hosting status and duties over to Reggie Harris. Please go ahead and throw any questions into the chat box. Reggie, take it away and just ping me if you want any ideas or.
Well, thanks, Lilo. And that song is one that is so special to me. I first sang that song when I was in second grade. And I often tell the story that my second grade teacher, Miss Charlotte Churn, came into the room one day and said, "Children, we're going to sing a song by a man who travels around." And I don't remember if she even talked very much about Woody Guthrie. But I do remember her singing that song. I also remember that she gave us a really great lesson because Miss Churn was not a really great singer, but she didn't let that stop her from singing with us all the time. And years later, I was performing like 33 years later, and in one of her last years of teaching, Miss Churn brought a group of students to come see me in performance. And she had no idea that her former second grade student was on that stage until I went back and I told her that I'd had her in second grade. And the funny thing about the story was she looked at me, I had gray hair by that time, and she said, "Oh my, I really must retire." I found out later she didn't retire for another 4 years, however. So we've got some really great comments here, and folks writing in some additional verses. Certainly the environment is an important thing. The postal system. Certainly, I watched part of that hearing yesterday, and I was just appalled. We think about the fact that the postal system, we're all worried about whether or not we'll be able to vote by mail. But the important thing is that the postal system delivers so many important things to people. Not only checks of various sorts and medicine and just all kinds of communication, and it reaches every community in this nation. So the fact that authorities are stripping the postal system is just a great injustice, another injustice, and another form of oppression. So definitely have to add that verse. The real national anthem. I love that about "This land is your land." Great. Um, yes, Nancy in says they always leave out the political verses. Well, yes, they do. uh, Interestingly enough, I remember that when Pete Seeger was saluted by the Kennedy Center, um, they invited Arlo Guthrie, and on that national broadcast, he sang the political verses. So it was really a great. We've got a question. Oh, do we have a question? Um, oh, have I ever? Oh, Lilo, you want to might jump in on this? The question is, have we ever performed at inaugurations or marches? Um, and I will say that I haven't performed at any inaugurations, but I did perform a variety of times at gatherings before elections to get people singing and get them energized. I've performed a number of rallies, including some recently. Took myself out, masked up, and sang at some Black Lives Matter rallies here in my community, here in upstate New York, which let's just say that our gathering here in upstate New York was very small because Black Lives Matter is a very controversial subject here in my county in which I live. Lilo, have you also performed at, where have you performed? Oh, you're on mute. Okay, there we go. If you want to unmute yourself. Still on mute.
Here, I'll send you an invitation to unmute. I'm not
Okay.
sure why it's not working. Oh, you got it.
Reggie, I'm a Salvadorian American.
Uh-huh.
I came in 1981. And since I came, I've been, singing in rallies in different places. I played for inauguration of President Clinton. They were doing different. But also I played, for Archbishop Tutu. He came to Washington, D.C., and they invited me to play at the Liston Auditorium. And that was powerful. That was beautiful. I saw that Mr. Tutu was a big guy, a small guy, but with the, values and the example of a big man. So that was an honor to me. And let me say something. When you're talking about, Black Lives Matter, I heard, I mentioned some people, some of my community saying, no, this is a black and white. And this is not black and white. This concern to all of us. This concern is to all of us. And just to finish, let me say, recently, like last year, they wanted to open, ICE wanted to open a detention center for families right here in Tacoma Park.
Wow.
The wrong place. It was amazing. And let me say you something. I was so happy that day because there were black, brown, white, is the whole community against. And to close it, at the end, I played Dreamer, and there was a go-go band, and they joined with the drum and the bass. That was the most beautiful things that I've been, it's great. So Black Lives Matter, brother. Thank you.
Straight up. I think there have been so many wonderful opportunities. One of my treasured memories is that I got to do a performance for a gathering. It was the 25th anniversary of Mississippi Freedom Summer. The volunteers who went there, most of them had not seen each other in 25 years. In 1964, over 1,000 people from around the country volunteered to go into Mississippi and help people to register to vote, to teach in freedom schools, and to do a variety of things, basically to put their lives in danger. And all of those people then, of course, grew older and went into all kinds of other actions and ways of protesting and working for freedom and justice. So they all came together at Brooklyn College, and the principal speaker that day was Rosa Parks. And so I got to meet and then introduce Rosa Parks to the gathering there. And so I was sitting in a room with Rosa Parks for about a half an hour having a conversation with her. And I found it very difficult to find words. But she was just the most gracious person. And, Rosa Parks and Dr. Martin Luther King Jr., and also Andrew Young, who I had the opportunity to work with and to, do at a conference, all were people of short stature. They were not big, tall, strong people. They were very slight, and in most cases, in some ways, they were also just very soft-spoken. When I mean, they could be really powerful, but it just shows that we don't have to have a particular, physical bearing to make a difference in the world. And so I really appreciate your comments about that. See what else if we have any other comments in the room. We've got, oh yes, well, I'll just say this, the verse that's always left out of This Land Is Your Land. In the shadow of the steeple, I saw my people by the relief office. As they stood there hungry, I stood there asking, is this land made for you and me? Very important verse. I'm just thinking today about having watched the Democratic National Conference and the installation of the candidates who are running with Joe Biden and Kamala Harris. And the thing I came away with, there were so many amazing moments, but the thing I came away with was the astonishing diversity in the faces and the voices and just the whole sense of what that represented in terms of what we are as a nation. And there were young people, and there were not so young, more seasoned people, and there were people with all kinds of color hair. And there were, it just really healed me this week in a way that gives me hope for the charge that we are making forward to. As Joe Biden said, vote for the soul of our nation. And I think that during this time, song is going to be so very important in continuing to keep us together and continuing to give people fuel to move forward. I see Busy Graham, thank you for sharing that. One more reminder, this week on Monday, I'll be teaching a class. It'll be all right until Friday. And it's from 10 a.m. to 10:45. And it's a class on civil rights called How Martin Climbed the Mountain. And we're going to be talking about song and also just talking about the things that made it possible for Martin Luther King Jr. to have that dream when he stood up in front of those 250,000 people. He didn't just get there by himself. And he would tell you that there were many who added in ideas, songs, and substance that from the time he was a young lad helped him to propel himself into history. So we'll be spending time talking about that. It'll be singing. It'll be some material on background of song and the background of the civil rights movement, and then a question and answer period every day. So you can register at, well, it's in the chat. So I'm not even going to try to repeat the link, because I haven't had enough coffee today, to tell you the truth. And I don't want to screw it up. So just look in the chat. Starts on Monday morning at 10 a.m. I'll meet you there bright and early. I will have had enough coffee. Am I related to Kamala Harris? Asked Karen Kluge. No, I'm not. I kind of wish I were. But and I don't know much about the Harrises on my side of the family. I know more about my mother's family, the Hewletts, but I know that I'm not related to Kamala. I do know that. Storm writes, were Wally and Juanita Nelson. Oh, yes, they were tiny in stature and immense in power. Wally and Juanita Nelson were two activists and civil rights pioneers. I know that they worked in Cincinnati for a bunch of years, helping to desegregate parks and restaurants. And I met Juanita Nelson when she came. She was living in Massachusetts in her later years, and she came and performed she gave a talk for an album that I was working on for Justice and Freedom called "Let My People Go." It's an album that Kim and I did with Rabbi Jonathan Kliegler, our friend down in Woodstock, New York. And for that CD, Juanita Nelson came in and did a beautiful job of talking about her life as an activist and as a tax resistor. And yes, she was small but mighty. Oh, is the time of the class on Monday EST? It's EDT, Eastern Daylight Time. So yes. And Busy Graham, did I spend any time at the Highlander Center? In Newmarket, no. I didn't get to the Highlander Center until it was located out near Nashville, Tennessee, the new one. And Many people don't know that both Rosa Parks received training there, as did Dr. King, as did so many people. Miles Horton, who started that amazing place, and Guy Carawan and Candy Carawan reached out their fingers to all kinds of communities around the United States and brought them into the Highlander Center. And I've been there 5 or 6 times. Just really a place that really trained so many people in a variety of ways, not only civil rights, but also labor and gender studies. And they are still very active in their work there. So if you haven't checked out the Highlander Center, Google them up. They are also having programs. And I want to invite people also. One of the offshoots of the Highlander Center are all these other organizations that have sprung up. And Gordon and Judy Gibson, who live not far from the Highlander Center, 10 years ago, started an organization called the Living Legacy Pilgrimage, that is now the Living Legacy Project. And as it happens, I'm the musical education director and the co-president of the organization. And next Tuesday, Tuesday the 25th. Yeah, that is next Tuesday, isn't it? My goodness. We will be hosting our 4th Zoom panel in a series called Voting Rights, The Struggle Continues. And if you'll just go on the website livinglegacy.org, you can see that we are going to have 3 very powerful women on. One is a descendant of Ida B. Wells, I believe. One is the vice president of the city council in Minneapolis. And my mind is not. So go on livinglegacy.org, and it's called Voting Rights, The Struggle Continues. We'll have a 1-hour program. These powerful women celebrating actually the anniversary of the 100th anniversary of the women getting the right to vote. And so that also is another big event that's coming up to celebrate. But those women we'll be talking to them for an hour about what is happening now in our voting cycle and things that you can do. I will also be leading music 15 minutes before that starts. So if you register and come on that broadcast 15 minutes early, you can sing with me again.
Thank you.
Yes.
Reggie, that's amazing. Thank you so much. I love all of that. That's incredible. And another chance to sing with Reggie is actually also tomorrow, because tomorrow we're going to have Jubilee Voices, the Washington Rebels Jubilee Voices, performing down by the riverside. Different members of Jubilee are going to take different verses, and we're going to be joined. It's Jubilee Voices and friends, because Chris Matthews, Reggie Harris, Issei Barnwell, and maybe a few others still are going to be joining us and taking verses. So we hope that you will join us tomorrow. Promises to be absolutely fabulous. So Reggie, I was going to ask you if you have ever been to the O Street Mansion in Washington, D.C. And I ask that for an actual reason. You know it?
I do not.
It's a crazy, crazy music museum of all these row houses all stuck together with all these secret doors and all this crazy stuff like Prince's Purple Rain Jacket. And like, it's just, it's an insane space. I love it. We're actually hoping we're going to get to partner with them in this room at some point, because they have a lot of incredible musicians they present. But there's also Rosa Parks's bedroom there, because she lived there for a while and they've kept it the way it was. So for everyone in this room, a trip to DC and the O Street Mansion. For Lilo, Anina, Reggie, and also Issei, if you're still there, I'm taking you to the O Street Mansion so that you can see. That's my treat because it's a fun place. I think you'll love it. And you absolutely have to see that little piece of it. And my second question for you is, do you know, have you ever heard about the lost verse from This Land Is Your Land? So
I knew there was one.
there was a lost verse. This is like from my Library of Congress archive days. Those of us in archive work, we get like real pleasure out of this kind of weird stuff, right? So there was a lost verse and it was just lost. And they had concluded that he'd never written it down. It was known that he'd sung it, but it'd never been recorded and it was just never going to surface again. So one day, an archivist at the Smithsonian is going through the stacks of records and he finds a blank record unmarked in any way and puts it on just for kicks. And there was the last verse. I think that was in the 80s maybe, or I can't, but like, right. So there's two things, right? One is, how is it that there are things in archives that no one even knows about yet, right? That's like the little like mystery of, and then two is, how fabulous is it that we live in a world where stuff like that can happen? These things that are lost to us are returned. There's a similar sort of joy that one can get out of knowing, this is my favorite archive story, that there are Native American tribes who lost their music and who came to the Library of Congress in the 70s and 80s to hear the wax cylinder recordings of their music so that they could relearn their lost music and teach it to their kids. Like, that is something that just blows me away. So there are some related and slightly unrelated archive tidbits for you all. So This Land Is Your Land, all the verses are actually recorded somewhere, I forget where, and I will add that into tomorrow's email. And Issei, are you still there? Are you sitting just down low, or did you? Okay, so I think we've lost Issei, but I just wanted to say thank you to Issei and to Lilo and to Reggie so much for being a part of all of this. Reggie, is there anything else in the chat box you'd like to hit? And if not,
I think we've covered most. I
okay.
did put the thank you. The Living Legacy Struggle Continues is in the chat box, and I just want to say that whatever you're doing today, keep a song in your heart, and let's sing that chorus one more time. And let's sing Sister for the upcoming celebration of the 100th anniversary of the 19th Amendment. Somebody's been hurting my sister, and it's gone on far too long. Let's get our rhythm going. Well, somebody's been hurting my sister, and it's gone on far too long. Well, it's gone on far too long. Well, it's gone on far too long. Well, somebody's been hurting my sister, and it's gone on far too long. And we won't be silent anymore. And we won't be silent anymore. And we won't be silent anymore.
Yay, thank you, Reggie. Thank you, Lilo, Issei. It was great to have you with us again today as a silent but stoic and amazing, strong presence. Always great to have all of you guys here. Reggie, beautiful music, perfectly worded. Let's all go out, guys, into our Saturday and our Sunday and any other day we can and not be silent anymore. That's our call for the day, the week, the month, the universe, the life. So thanks, everybody, for being here with us today. I'm going to say goodbye to everybody on Facebook. Thanks for joining.